This is Hailey. She was born on the 30th of April. She was 4 kilos when she was born, and she was born by emergency C-section. She spent the first week of her life in the NICU, and this is her story.
I would change my ways, I know for sure. When all the crows decide to meet.
Hey guys, we didn't do a vlog today purposefully because we had a pretty boring day, to be honest. But Shane had this idea that maybe we should do a birth vlog, just telling you guys about how Hailey came to be. Hailey is our first C-section baby. Elijah and Joel were both born naturally. I had no drugs or anything with their births. Basically went to hospital, popped them out, left a few hours later. That's how they came to be. Hailey was slightly different though, purely because I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes almost 2 years ago. So we knew that it would be a very different pregnancy and a very different birth because of that. I guess to some extent what that means is I was in hospital quite a lot during her pregnancy. Like every 2 weeks I had to go see a consultant, have my bloods done, get an ultrasound, which isn't really normal in England for second or third, or let's be honest, first babies. With Eli, I think I only had like two scans, and pretty much the same with Joel. With Hailey, I think I had about 6 or 7, so it was a bit intense, to be honest.
So you were in the hospital a lot, but also as it came closer to the end, there was this fear, or like we just felt like at any moment they might say, okay, she needs to come out.
Which kind of happened anyway. Basically, when you're diabetic, the baby takes more sugar from your blood than normal, and she got quite big, which is apparently quite normal for diabetic babies, but that's why they're usually born 2 weeks earlier. But because she was getting quite big, they opted in for a C-section, a planned C-section for Hailey, as opposed to an induction, like we were kind of expecting.
And that was booked for the 3rd of May, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that would have been exactly 2 weeks before her real due date. When it comes to the C-section, we had to go in for 2 injections, steroid injections, to help mature her lungs for giving birth. So on the Friday before, I went into the hospital, had my first steroid injection in my butt. That is an all-time low. Yeah, and then I was told I needed to be aware of my blood sugars. So normally I test my blood sugars about 4 times a day, unless I'm having a hypo or I'm feeling a bit off. I need to check my blood sugars to find out what's going on so I can control it with insulin, because I'm on injections, I'm on insulin injections. So they told me once I had the steroid injection, I'd have to be really careful and check my blood sugars very regularly to make sure that they don't go too high. Another thing that diabetics have to be aware of, especially during pregnancy, is their ketones, which is like a blood test you take to see what they're at. My doctor always told me my ketones were never allowed to get above 0.9, otherwise I'd have to go to hospital. And during Hailey's pregnancy, we did go to hospital for the whole ketone drama twice before, actually. So we kind of knew what it shouldn't be at and what it should be at. So on the Friday, we went for an injection, and I checked my blood sugars pretty much every hour the whole day. So all through the night, I wake up every hour and checked my bloods to make sure that Hailey was okay inside me and that my bloods were at a normal level, which just meant I was just popping in insulin even though I hadn't eaten anything, which isn't normally what you do, but to keep my blood sugars down, I had to do it. And then I was due to go in the next day for another steroid injection. But in the middle of the night, you went to the loo, didn't you? You went to the loo.
I don't know. I think I was fast asleep, but Geri had a dream. She had a dream that she was about to die.
So,
and then
yeah, I woke up and I thought, I checked my blood sugars again, and my blood sugars were fine. But then I had this niggling feeling that I had to really check my ketones, because otherwise your ketones get too high, and something about it turning your blood like acidic. And your blood, you will start attacking the baby like internally, which is not what we want. Anyway, we tested my blood sugars and my ketones, and they were
3.4, is that right?
3.9, I think they were. 3.9, and I panicked, like they were really high, and I just hit
We were just in, we were in that car within about 5 minutes. praise the Lord that Geri's parents had come to stay, and they came earlier because they thought, well, it'd be nice to come earlier so they can help put the kids, take the kids to school and stuff like that.
They just wanted to know how to do everything for when I was in hospital.
Yeah, and it just so happened that
They came the day before.
They came the day before, and then we had to go to the hospital in a rush in the morning.
It was like 5 a.m.
Yeah, and we had no idea what was going to happen. We drove there, and we got there, and this was a massive shock for us because she was due on the 3rd. We were there
Saturday morning.
on Saturday
5
morning,
o'clock, yeah.
and we were thinking, okay, they'll probably put Geri on a drip. This is what they did last time. They just gave her fluids. But within...
No, so we ran into A&E. We got into A&E, and I saw a nurse, and she said to us, just go to the, take the shortcut through A&E, where there were a lot of patients covered in blood. And she's like, don't look at them, just walk straight through and get to the other side. I'll call the midwives and tell them to come in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened. We just kind of like legged it through the A&E and got to the labour ward. And when we got there, they kind of put me on a drip. And then there was panic because I didn't have good veins. I have pretty poor veins. They're really deep down, so you can't really find them. Quite often we have drama.
Okay, you have to see the bruises that Geri had.
Alright, Shane will insert a picture now. And that was about 5 days after giving birth to Hailey. So they were worse in the beginning. And basically, I had about 4 or 5 people trying to find a vein at one time. So it was a hot mess. Finally, after a lot of blood squirting everywhere and they keep on missing veins, they found a vein and they got a cannula into my hand. Thank the Lord.
Yeah. And it wasn't long before a doctor came in and said, you're going to have your child in half an hour. Okay, we are in hospital at the moment. Geri is supposed to be having a C-section in 2 days, 3 days, but her ketone levels were really high, so we came to hospital. Looks like she started labour anyway, like very early, but they've just told us, right, we've monitored baby and we're going to have a C-section in half an hour. So, yeah, hence why I'm all dressed up in scrubs. We're about to have a baby, which is amazing. So, love, how are you feeling? You nervous?
Yeah.
This is crazy, isn't it?
Like, how am I gonna have a baby today?
This is surreal.
They put me on like a monitor to see Hailey's heart, and her heart rate kept on dipping. And they were worried about that. The problem also was that the fear of that and the distress that Hailey was in put me into natural labour. So not only was I natural labour, her heart rate wasn't doing well, she had low oxygen, and then the consultant came in and he looked at all the paperwork and he said, no, that's in half an hour, we're going in for an emergency C-section. Anyway, so they brought in Shane's scrubs and told him that he could come into the, what do you call it?
Into the ward?
Into
the hospital.
Where do you get surgery done? What's it called?
Surgery?
Theatre.
Theatre.
Into theatre. So I was rushed in. I was first into theatre today. I'll never forget. I've been wheeled in to the theatre room. There's loads of people there, and one of the nurses were taking the doctor's like the surgeon's breakfast choices, and they were like, "Oh yes, I like a coffee and a bagel," and I'm lying there going, "Oh my goodness, I'm about to be cut open." And I'm not prepared for this. Okay, so what ended up happening was I got a spinal injection. It was a bit touch and go because I kept on getting really dizzy, and then the anaesthetist was great. He like saw something out, and then I felt fine again. Having a C-section is a very weird feeling compared to birth. Like birth, you're aware of everything. You're aware of the feeling, the hurt, and you almost have more control because you know what's happening. When you're having a C-section, it's kind of like they cut you open, and you kind of feel them moving around inside you, but not, and it's without the pain. It's very odd.
Right, they've just started, I think. Geri's got all the meds in, so you can't really feel. Can you feel it?
No, I could feel like scratching, but not pain.
That's so weird.
So weird.
You can't feel it.
Oh, it feels weird. It feels like poking without feeling?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no concept of that.
Oh my goodness, that feels weird. It was just, she was not supposed to come out today.
No, I know.
Oh my gosh.
You okay?
Yeah, it's just a very weird sensation.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it?
It's like someone's inside you, but you
It's
don't
like doing the
feel
washing
it.
up inside you.
So that happened, and they got Hailey out. I didn't get to see her straight away. Shane got to see her.
So basically, the minute she was out, they showed us
No, I didn't
Hailey,
see her.
but Geri couldn't see it. There was basically like a
Curtain.
curtain, and they brought her over, kind of in Mufasa style, over this curtain so that we could see. And I jumped up on the other side with my camera, and they all looked like, "Don't film." You're not really allowed to film anything like that in hospitals. So I don't.
Well, also I was cut open and kind of lying there, all like, you know, goring guts, and Shane's got the camera out.
Yeah, it's a special moment.
Anyway, so Shane went over to the side, got to see Hailey, got to hold her, while they kind of cleaned me out and then sewed me back together again and put on like a super sticky plaster, and that was that.
And that was really special.
She's like, why did you wake me up, Mum? What are you doing?
Hey, girl. It's
Hey,
your
honey.
mummy. Hey, it's your mummy.
Hey, darling.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I love you.
Then what they did was they rolled me back over, and when they rolled me over, they realised there was more blood loss than they expected. You're supposed to lose a certain amount of blood, and I lost far more than that. So then they started questioning about whether or not to have a blood transfusion. I kind of requested for that not to happen, because I quite like the idea of giving blood, and if I had a blood transfusion, I'd never be able to do that. So I asked them if we could avoid that and just put me on iron tablets, which is actually what ended up happening. Anyway, they took me out with Shane and Hailey, and we went to recovery, which is actually where I first got to hold Hailey. I barely got to hold her for 5 minutes before they tested her blood sugars, and they kind of said to us that her blood sugars needed to be around 1. Okay, my blood sugars need to be between 4 and 7. Anything lower than 4 is a hypo. Hers needs to be around 1-ish. It should be in hypo, but hopefully her body would react and kind of kickstart things and sort it out. But
She was on 0.3.
she was a 0.3, and we didn't realise that until a bit afterwards. A NICU sort of doctor came in, and he kind of squeezed blood out of her foot, which is also very distressing for your newborn, and checked it out, came back in. He didn't tell us what it was on, he just took her, and I think that was what scared me. They didn't come and tell us why, they just said, we need to take her to the NICU, it's an emergency, and then just took her away, at which point I only held her for about 5 minutes max, and they wheeled her away, and that was a bit of a shock.
Neither of us knew where they were taking her. Well, we knew it was going to NICU, but we didn't know where the
NICU
intensive
was
care
or
unit was.
anything.
We didn't know when we would be able to see her. So we were a little bit worried, to say the
I didn't
least.
get to see her until I had an emotional breakdown that evening. I'd already got feeling back in my legs at this point, and there was a change of shifts, and a new midwife came in, and she said to me, "Oh, have you got to hold your baby?" And I just freaked out. Thank the Lord for that, because the midwife was amazing. She put me into a wheelchair and wheeled me over to the NICU and let me sit next to Hailey, where I got to see her for the first time, which is also really distressing, because she was in a nappy under lights. She had a nasal tube in, she had a cannula in her hand, she had like a splint, and then she had all these things on her chest, checking her heart rate and her breathing. It wasn't great, and I literally just couldn't handle it, to be perfectly honest. It's not what you expect. When you go and give birth to your baby, you do not expect to see your child looking like that.
And I wasn't there at that point, because both of our kids were at home. They were waiting expectantly to see their sister, but that didn't get to happen.
And also, the day Hailey was born, Eli came down with chicken pox, which meant that he wasn't allowed on the labour ward or even in the hospital or in the NICU. So he
was stuck at home.
And that meant Joel was as well, and they had a 2-week sort of like, what do you call it? Incubation period to stay away.
And that is a lot of emotions, a lot of grown-up emotions for a young child. He's 5 years old to be feeling. And I was at home, like, just trying to gauge, how's he doing? And he was in tears at some point. He just wanted to see his sister.
We had lots of FaceTimes where he would just want to talk to Mummy and he'd cry on the phone. And it was really, really sad.
You struggled.
Yeah, so Hailey was born on the Saturday. I was kept in the hospital that night and that was horrific. I only got to see her a little bit and then took me back to the room, and then I was waking up every half an hour to test my blood sugars.
And the truth is, Geri hates hospitals, so she did not want to be there.
They put me on something called a sliding scale, so basically they would give me insulin and control my blood sugars all at the same time, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. The problem was they decided to take me off of it shortly after giving birth to Hailey, but that meant that we had no control of my blood sugars, and every half an hour they woke me up to test it, and I was hypoing and getting really high and then really low, and they kept on trying to force feed me toast. It was horrific. And then the Sunday came around, and you came to the hospital, and you went and saw Hailey, didn't you? And that was very frustrating, except they moved me to a different ward on that Sunday morning, and I was so upset. I didn't have Hailey with me, and they put me on a ward with loads of mums who were busy being induced. There's nothing more horrible than being separated by other people by a curtain and hearing, like, the mother next to me, it was like, oh, this baby's annoying me, I wish you'd just come out. And I was like, your baby is at least with you. But thank the Lord, there was a really lovely midwife who was in charge of the ward at one point, and she ran me a bath and said to me I should go for a bath because she's going to put one of the mums on a monitor, and we'll be able to hear the baby's heartbeat, and that might be a bit distressing since my baby was downstairs, which was really lovely because it was true. It wasn't great. So
that was really difficult for Geri to be there, and also she was on a separate floor now to where Hailey was being kept.
Where Hailey was, yeah.
And so, it's really hard for her to actually walk there because now she had to go down a flight of stairs, and she'd just been cut open for a C-section.
I just had abdominal surgery, yes.
And from my point of view, driving backwards and forwards, I was trying to help Geri with all of her struggles. I was trying to be there for Hailey, who was, health-wise, she was up and down at the time, and it's a lot to try and figure out how on earth do I emotionally understand this. And at home, the kids were just, they missed us.
They needed their parents.
And the next day, Geri was discharged.
So that was the Sunday. That Sunday night, I remember, I think it was about 11 o'clock at night, I'd spent all day crying, pretty much. Had Eli on the phone crying to me. And at 11 o'clock, I thought I was going to go see Hailey. I was going to sit next to her bed and hold her hand. And I went downstairs, and as I walked downstairs, she was standing on the bottom of the stairs. And then I had another good old cry, and we went and spent a good hour next to Hailey, which was really good. That Monday morning, they discharged me, which is a real shock. I asked them, I was like, you can't send me home without my baby. And they explained that actually she was a different patient and that I couldn't take up a bed if I didn't need to be there. So
Geri came home.
I came home without Hailey.
Being at home without Hailey.
Yeah.
That was tough. We just given birth to a daughter and she's not here.
And it was really difficult to explain that to the children. So what ended up happening was that whole week until the Thursday, we would go and see Hailey 2 to 3 times a day for a good few hours every time. I'm really grateful for my parents being around because they looked after the boys so that we could do that together. And we tried to be there every morning for rounds so we could hear what the doctors were saying about her development and how she was doing. And then we'd spend there in the afternoon and then come back and put our boys to bed and then go back in the evening and spend more time with her. Also, the hospital isn't just like the local hospital. We would have to drive about 40 minutes to the hospital and back.
Well, we got it down to 45 minutes. That was how fast we could get it.
Yeah.
So
Thursday,
being in the NICU for Hailey, it's kind of like a roller coaster, they say, because she gets better and then she gets worse and then she gets a bit better, and that's So
that was tough for us.
Slowly though, we started watching as she was. She needed less what was it that was dripping into her? It was sugars. She
Sugar.
needed less glucose, and her blood sugars were doing a bit better.
And her insulin was getting in control of itself because she's not diabetic.
Yeah.
She just shows signs of it because of me. So her body needed to just kick in and control itself.
And then eventually they ended up taking out some of the cannulas and taking out the nose drip, and that was a really amazing moment for us.
So then we went there on the Thursday, and on the Thursday I was told by the consultant that she'd be discharged on the Friday. So we came home and we told the kids, and they were so excited. They were finally going to see their sister.
Yeah.
And so Shane went up there on the Friday morning just to like make sure everything was fine for us to collect her. And they said that she wasn't coming home on the Friday. And we had to tell the children that, and they really, really found that hard. And I was really cross. I was like, you can't, you're joking, just give me my baby. You told me she was fine now, she had no more problems, you know, just give me the baby. But they decided to send her home on the Saturday. So we had to explain that to the boys and then go back on the Saturday. So Shane went back on the Saturday morning, and I had to have a first aid sort of like lesson thing.
Yeah. Didn't I take the kids? We went to a park and we just played in a park, which they had fun. They had fun with us during the time. And
But
by the time we came back,
they said to go home and come back a few hours later to collect her. We came home, we called them, and they said, oh, another few hours. And I said to Shane, no, we're going there now, and I will sit there and wait until I get my baby. So we got there, and Shane and the boys were outside, at which point we told them that their sister was coming home today. We didn't want to get their hopes up until we knew. And so they sat outside in the car because they weren't allowed in. And as I went inside, the nurse said to me that there were 6 other babies needing discharging today, and that it would just make more sense if I came back on the Sunday. And I was like, no, I am not leaving here without my child. I will wait here for the next 6 hours. I do not care, but you are giving me my baby. And the woman's face was like, okay. Anyway, what ended up happening was she came to me later and said, actually, no, I needed to go home. And I was like, no. And then I started crying. It was all very hormonal. And the midwife in charge came over, and as she saw me there, she just said, what are you still doing here? I'm like, I want my baby. And she's like...
And then it was within about half an hour.
Well, then she said to me, she basically discharged me, and Hailey and I left, and we introduced her to her brothers.
And this is the clip where the boys got to see her for the first time.
Boys, we're gonna go see sister for the first time. Off you go.
Shout in my hand. You have kiss Emily, right? Can you give her a kiss? Can I get that kiss?
Give her a kiss on her cheek. Oh, good boy.
Hello, Hurricane.
Don't make her happy, she's tired, okay?
Look how small the fingernails are.
I know. Johnny, don't poke her eye, be gentle, okay?
Yeah, they loved her, and they loved spending time with her and seeing her for the first time. And actually, they are so amazing with her, really protective, really sweet, and they really dote over her, which is amazing.
The other funny part of this this whole drama, is that the day Hailey came home, Joel got chickenpox.
So we've had a great couple of weeks.
We did.
But yeah, aside from that, Hailey's doing well. Her blood sugars are back to normal now. They kind of thought she has a heart murmur, so she's having a few more tests on that in a good few weeks, just to make sure that if it is there, what they can do about it. But aside from that, she is fit and healthy, and we are so grateful to have our baby girl home.
And she's so cute.
She is cute. But I don't, it was a very distressing hormonal experience. I think not only for me, but for Shane as well, we really struggled actually not having her home. It just didn't feel right leaving the hospital without our baby.
We really struggled. I mean, I did. I struggled, and I hit sort of points where I was trying to understand what I was feeling, and I like there were moments where I was taking it out on the kids or being grumpy with everyone, and I just needed time to realise actually I'm struggling here because this doesn't feel right. But as a disclaimer, I just want to say the NICU...
Not a disclaimer, I think the NICU unit was amazing.
They were incredible.
Great. They were really patient with us because we called every night.
And we called her
like
all
midnight,
sorts of hours.
1 a.m, 2 a.m, just to find out how she was doing.
They were so great because we just call and say, hi, I just wanted to find out how baby Coates is. And I think it was the best aftercare that we've ever had, isn't it?
I think for me though, the biggest hurt, I think, through the whole process was, and it wasn't even their fault, was all the firsts we never got to do. So the fact her first bottle, because she was obviously taken so quickly, she had to be bottle fed. We never gave that to her. The first time someone gave her a dummy or got her dressed or changed her nappy.
Or bathed her.
No,
well, not
bathed,
bathed her.
like
She was
top and tailed. All those things we never got to do, and I really struggled with that actually. I struggled with someone else caring for my child, and me not being able to be there. And I know that it was the best care for her, but yeah, it was really difficult. So.
But she's home, she's healthy, we're happy, and I feel like it was a tough time, but as a family I think we've grown a lot from it.
Yeah.
And we now feel complete, don't we?
Yeah. And for the sake of the kids for years to come, just so they remember, when Hailey was born, she bought them each a Build-A-Bear Chewbacca and some lightsabers. And some lightsabers, that was it, wasn't it? Those two things, yeah. So they each got the same things and they loved it. And thanks for watching, guys. You can see more of our family and our beautiful children by following our vlog. But yeah, it was good hanging out.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.